Welcome to SAT TV's news. I am Shana Esprit, your presenter. In our top stories, jobs at stake in the reorganization of Clare Harbour. Caribbean academic presents compelling case why Britain should pay reparations. Syria chemical attack claims prompt calls for action. And in sports division to host second Creole Cup football tournament. Details of these will follow.
Music is life, you don't know. And I'm all set and ready to blow. I got some places out there I wanna see. It's gonna be irate, yeah. So put your hand in the air just for me. I want it up for the world to see, 'cause I wanted you and me's a fire. I'll bring the flame. It's gonna be irate, yeah. Boom, this is Mr. Nye, and you're listening and watching SAT Telecoms. Boom!
Welcome back. The Ministry of Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs presented the opening ceremony of the certificate training on the U.S. Small Business Development for Latin America and the Caribbean on Thursday, August 22nd. Executive Director in the Employment and Small Business Agency within the Ministry of Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, Alexander Stevenson said the Economic Institute in Texas will be sharing with us the most treasured ways of assisting small business persons in the United States as in the Americas. This will be conducted via small business centers.
We are actually taking the level of development of small business to a next level, another stage of development. Instead of just giving you money in your hand, you would get the check, but we would hold your hand for at least 2-3 years with additional support services. Because we're a small unit comprising just about 7 of us, we may not have the capacity to do everything for small business. And as a result of that, we have tagged along with the University of San Antonio in Texas, along with the Organization of American States, the United States government, as well as the Economic Development Unit of the University of San Antonio.
The general aim of this training program is to develop a number of small business consultants throughout Dominica as well as general managerial consultants. This will also involve persons specialized in businesses island-wide, who Mr. Stevenson hopes will partner with the organization to get familiar with the U.S. Small Business Center module.
So that in the process of developing the small business client, areas that we don't have capacity in, the many of you who are here with us today would understand the Small Business Development Center model and be able to have our clients, as your clients, to be able to provide them with the critical services that we ourselves may not be able to provide, but that you would be able to do that on our behalf, and the information would be collated in the client's database so that when a client is ready for the next level of business development, you would not have to start the client from scratch. You would have a dossier on that client.
Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Employment, Trade, Industry and Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Karine Prevost, believes economic growth can be advanced through economic development.
In this regard, we are particularly pleased that Dominica was able to secure one of the 5 spots within the Caribbean community for the SBDC model to be piloted. The literature on the US SBDC model indicates a solid history of close to half a century of success, and this literature also points out that the SBDC is the main source of technical and managerial assistance for small businesses in the United States.
The mission is to promote small business growth, innovation, productivity, and revenue to business administrations. Dr. Carissa Etienne, Director of Pan American Health Organization, is advocating for a review of the primary healthcare system not only in Dominica but globally. Dr. Etienne is presenting the 6th annual Bernard A. Sorrento Distinguished Lecture at the Fortune Hotel on August 20th, noted that universal health coverage places emphasis on universality and comprehensive care to the less fortunate.
Dominica has been a pioneer in terms of primary health care. It is true to say that the framework that was laid down in Dominica in as early as 81, 82 continues to be the backbone of what is a healthcare system. But the history is that not many countries actually were successful in implementing primary health care.
She went on to say that the World Bank and the IMF and World Bank policies began to tell countries that primary health care was a dream.
One of the living examples is the country of Thailand. And Thailand, a World Bank actually dissuaded Thailand that they should not go the route of primary health care and universal health coverage. Thank God you had some very stubborn people in Thailand, and they did. And today, the healthcare system in Thailand is delivering healthcare with one of the greatest levels of equity.
Universal health coverage is to ensure all people have access to needed services, prevention, promotion, curative, rehabilitation, and palliative care, with sufficient quality to be effective without exposing individuals to financial hardship, and with access to the social determinants of health, Dr. Etienne explained.
But very importantly, the whole emphasis on universal health coverage is important. It is important because ill health is rooted in inequity and poverty. Those are the biggest obstacles to people enjoying a healthy status: inequity and poverty. Latin America and the Caribbean is known as the region with the highest level of inequity. The disparities within our population is so great. We have the very, very rich and the very, very poor living side by side. And it is this disparity and this inequity that sets up the condition whereby people suffer ill health.
She proposed to the new government to find new diversified source of funds to include sales taxes, sin taxes, particularly on tobacco and alcohol, a currency transaction levy, and solidarity levies. The distinguished lecture was organized by the University of the West Indies Open Campus in Dominica. In more news, Ministry of Public Works, Energy and Ports, Honorable Regan Blackmore, during an interview on Thursday, August 22nd, stated the following unfortunate tragedy that claimed the lives of national football coach Kurt Hector and the national football player Noran John Baptist. The government has constructed a temporary bypass in the Pokasi. On the morning of Friday, April 19th, the two victims were on their way to the airport when the road collapsed. During that time, the government assured its citizens that in due time they would construct a more permanent road in the area. Presently, the design has been finalized and the project is currently in the tendering process, of which a final contractor will be selected to take on the project.
And we hope within the next 4 to 5 weeks to see actual physical work taking place in the Pokasi William area, to have a more permanent structure that we are speaking about, and to have proper protection by way of the installation of retaining walls on either side and guardrails, etc. And when it is completed, we have the hope that it will be something like 8 times in capacity to discharge any potential water that may emerge as a result of adverse weather condition. So that is what we can speak about. We have been able to attract financing from the Caribbean Development Bank in that regard. We have received to the tune of $2 million, and that in itself would include not only the William area, but you can recall there was some cleanup activities that had to be taking place throughout the country. So that is what we can speak about now. In terms of a holistic plan for the eastern part of the country,
he said when completed, the new road will be much safer for the motorists commuting the area on a daily basis. We will bring you more updates as it relates to roadworks in other parts of the country, outlined by Mr. Blackmore in a subsequent newscast. In other news, effective September 1st, 2013, 243 workers at Clear Harbor will be made redundant due to the reorganization of operations at its Canefield facilities. According to the Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Brian Lambert, this action became necessary because of industry-wide trends. Mr. Lambert stated that Clear Harbor values tremendously its 8-year partnership with the Commonwealth of Dominica, its history of bringing good-paying jobs to our nation, and its reputation as one of the country's biggest private sector employers. However, this reorganization has forced the company to lay off 44% of its total staff of 554 employees.
We will be eliminating one large account that we have currently today and bringing on several smaller accounts between now and the next 6 or so months as we move forward. Specifically, in order for us to accomplish this, it means that we will be making 243 employees redundant here in our operations. They will be redundant effective September 21st of this year. At the same time, we're adding 2 new accounts that will begin, the first one in about 2 weeks. From now, they will come in and start training.
The 2 new accountants to be added are both North American accountants and will run for 60 days. The first accountant will commence in 2 weeks and the other in early October. Mr. Lambert informed us that one of the accountants will contain 25 individuals and the other up to 30.
We're particularly excited about these 2 accounts, especially the insurance company, because they in fact today have some 6,000 or so agents servicing a number of different operations throughout their company. And the thing that makes them attractive to us is they have a number of pieces of work of all different types and varieties in different parts of the country, in different departments within that company. So it keeps us kind of away, even though it's a large company, there is a huge diversity in the kind of work that we would pick up, unlike with the large client that we have here today.
Some of the employees to be made redundant include those who have worked from 6 to 7 years. However, full vacation fees will be made available to them, compliant to the laws of Dominica, he assured. The employees who have worked less than 3 years will receive salaries for 2 weeks, a voluntary decision made by management. Subsequent to the redundancy, 315 employees will still be employed and 4 buildings still in operation.
You know, our commitment to these folks extends beyond that. We want to use this time between the time that we make the redundancies and bring them back in some constructive way. As a result, we've gone out and developed and purchased a number of curriculum packages, and we will be offering series of programs for folks to increase their skills. Microsoft Office and Word and Excel, I think there's 16 or so modules that we'll be offering for employees. They can come into the facilities, use our computer rooms, take the courses. There'll also be instructor-led classes that we've not done before. This is new curriculum for advanced customer service skills.
It has been made clear that the company is not closing down and is committed to restoring the jobs of the staff that will be laid off.
Clear Harbor is not closing down. We're not going anywhere. We still will have 315 plus employees working for us the day of the redundancy before we start to build back up and replace the 243. So again, we're going to continue. We have 4 buildings that we operate out of today. We'll continue to pay all the rents and operate those buildings. We'll continue to buy goods and services from everyone that we have here in the past. So with the exception of the reduction, this temporary reduction of folks, nothing else changes for Clear Harbor in Dominica.
In more stories, the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force is denying reports that Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt's escort vehicle was involved in a shootout over the weekend. This comes following a report on a local radio station on Wednesday, August 21st, indicating that police officers from the Special Branch, the department specially assigned to the Prime Minister, were involved in a shootout on the north of the island on Saturday, August 17th. It was also reported that one vehicle was damaged during the gun battle. Meanwhile, in response to this allegation, Police Public Relations Officer Inspector John Cavan says contrary to this report, none of these allegations being circulated within the public domain is factual.
Okay, what I can say is that the vehicle number GA460, which is an escort vehicle to the Prime Minister, it was accidentally damaged by a single gunshot at police headquarters on August 17, 2013, about 10:16 p.m. An officer who came from duty with a firearm was running out from a vehicle in the yard at police headquarters due to heavy rain when he lost his footing because of a broken pavement, causing an accidental discharge of the firearm. The officer sustained injuries to his left hand as a result of the fall which he took.
The vehicle had sustained damage to its left fender, but this was repaired the following day. Inspector Caban noted the vehicle at the time of the incident was vacant. He explained neither this vehicle nor any other police vehicle was involved in any shootout incident in the north of the island during the weekend break.
Certainly there is an investigation ongoing. Investigation is ongoing. That will be an internal investigation into that incident.
He also responded to critics who say that police reports about the incidents are untrue.
The persons who are not privy to the incident can just say anything. But I gave the report, and that was what was reported. Personally, I was not present when the incident took place. It was a report that was forwarded by the officer himself, so I have to generate the report that from the officer.
The firearm that discharged was not a handgun, he said. However, he did not specify the type of gun. In other stories, a committee which has been in existence for 2 years has embarked on developing and celebrating the art of dance in Dominica. Season 2 of Dominica Can Dance was launched on August 21st at the Anchorage Hotel. Ansel Prince, the CEO and founder of the event, said his vision and dream was made reality on August 25th, 2012, which marked the official Dominica Can Dance competition, the first of its kind.
The Season 2 first staging would be at the Arawak House of Culture, starting at 7 p.m. sharp. The date to remember would be the 24th of August again. The tickets for this name show will be sold at the Glam in downtown Rose, the Glam, the Guyav restaurant, and at the Lime flagship store in downtown Roseau. Tickets for the upcoming show cost only $15.
For the show, there are 16 registered participants who will vie for the title of Season 2 winners.
First place prize receives $5,000 cash from the committee. From Lime, handsets and other top-up and other tangible prizes. Second place receives $1,500 cash, handsets from Lime and top-up prices. And third place receives $500 cash and handsets. Also, the first place winner will receive a trip to another Caribbean island to participate in a dance competition.
The competition will be judged by 5 judges, including Julian Lloyd Benjamin, Norma White, Raymond Lawrence, Cynthia Thomas, and Curtis Matthew. All the judges are well-renowned and experienced in the dance arena. In more news, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerritt is no stranger to hinting at calls for early general elections. During a ceremony to commission the St. Mark's Fisher Folk Filling Station at Scott's Head on Tuesday, August 20th, The Prime Minister said if the opposition persists on their call for elections, he will do just that.
In 2004, they called for elections. And when I gave it to them, they couldn't take it. They called for election in 2009. And when I gave it to them, they were totally naked. So let them call for elections. I hope when I call it, they'll be ready.
Mr. Skerrit confidently proclaimed at the event that he is ready at any time election is called. Meanwhile, the United Workers' Party has been hosting a series of public meetings throughout the island, informing its supporters and non-supporters of the party's plan for Dominica. The UWP delegates have already held meetings in Point Michelle, Castle Bruce, and Portersville. The Freedom Party, although silent for now, has not given any indications that they will not be contesting the next general elections. Elections are constitutionally due in May of 2015. This has been the local segment of the news. Coming up next, regional highlights.